I'm all right.
Good, Mr. Mitchell, would you give us your full name and your Department of Corrections ID?
Stanley Mitchell. 490865.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. My name is Alvin Roche. To my left is Ms. Bonnie Jackson, and to my right is Mr. Pete Freeman. Let me explain the process to you. I will read some information into the record. Once that information is the record, we'll conduct a parole interview with you. At the appropriate time, we allow Warden Bickham to make comments, remarks, or observations. And you have your brother, Mr. Charles Mitchell, who would like to make a statement on your behalf. After that, before we vote, I'll give you a brief second to make a statement on your behalf. You understand the process?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Mitchell, you are a third felony offender. Your offense is simple burglary of an inhabited dwelling, and you were bailed as an habitual offender. You were sentenced on December 29th, 2014. You received a 35-year sentence, and your parole date, I want to make sure it's correct, your parole date is or was May 2nd, 2022. Your adjusted good time date is August 7th, 2047, and your full term date, August 2nd, 2048. Is all this information correct?
Yes, sir.
Your case has been assigned to Mrs. Jackson. Would you please answer Mrs. Jackson's question?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mitchell.
Good afternoon.
I have a few questions of you. You're 56 years old, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much time have you actually served on this charge?
Pretty close to about 10 years.
I have 9+.
Okay.
Right. You're a third offender. You have priors for possession of Schedule 2 and simple burglary, is that correct?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Why are you in prison right now, Mr. Mitchell?
Because of drugs.
All right, let's talk about that. Tell me about that.
But I'm an addict. I had a problem with cocaine, with crack cocaine, and it was something I couldn't just get over.
When did you develop this addiction to crack cocaine?
Probably around in my 30s, 30, 31, something like that.
Okay. Because as I was looking at your record, I made a note to myself that your crimes seem to be related to drug addiction. Prior to this incarceration, had you gone through any kind of drug treatment program on the outside?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of program did you go through?
I went to, on the outside, you said?
Huh?
On the outside, I was at the one in Monroe. Let me see, I can't think of the name of it. I didn't stay there that long though, ma'am.
Why not? Why not?
I don't know. I stayed there, I think like probably about 2 months, something like that. And I just called my family and told them to come and get me. Well, my girlfriend anyway, and she came.
And what was you thinking? What made you think you wanted to leave?
Because I thought I can defeat it on my own.
How'd that work out for you?
It didn't last long. It didn't.
Right.
It didn't last too long.
Well, how frequently were you using?
It wasn't on and off, on and off. I let it go 2, 3 months or a month or whatever, and then I get with the wrong crowd, ma'am, and start back smoking.
Were you employed at all during that time period?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work did you do?
I worked on a farm.
What'd you do?
I did farm work. Watering, cotton, corn, stuff like that in that nature.
And so it was an agricultural farm, not
Yeah.
like a. And how long did you have that job?
I kept that job probably about 2, 3 years, something like that. It was on, it was a season job. It's not a year-round job during that time.
And so you were committing burglaries to support your drug habit?
Yes, ma'am. You can say that. Yes, ma'am.
So tell us what you've done the last 9 years to address your issues with sex.
Programs. I've been in every program DC have to offer.
And just tell me some of them.
Substance abuse, drug dealers anatomy. What's the other name?
Living in balance,
Yes, ma'am. I did living in balance too.
both phases,
Ma'am.
both phases.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
What about relapse prevention?
Yes, ma'am. I did that also. Yes, ma'am.
Then I see you participated in NAAA. Is
Yes.
that correct? So
Yes.
so what do you think out of these programs that can help you stay away from drugs or maintain your sobriety? What have you gotten out of these programs? What's your biggest takeaway? What's the best tool you've received?
The best tool I got out of it is not hanging with people that do drugs. Staying away from people that affiliated with drugs, and support. Just going to that class alone is a lot of support. It's like we helping one another. It's like I'm around people that's like me. You know what I'm saying? Addicts, and we support one another. That's what I get out the class. We support one another. We guide one another, hold one another accountable for our actions, and just be there. Somebody to talk to just in case we fall weak of this drug or this addiction.
Have you ever given any thought about yourself and why you drifted into drugs? What triggered you to get involved in drugs?
I lost my brother at a kind of young age, and it was just a lot of pressure on me.
Okay.
Couldn't find a decent job. My brother had got shot and killed, and I just was mad at God, I guess. I mean, I was just mad, seeing like I was mad at the world. And I was also having like nightmares and all these type of things. I just needed something, to just kind of like take me away.
So what happens when life takes a bad turn or you get stressed out? How do you think you should cope with that? What would you do to cope with that? Because life is tough. Stuff's gonna happen.
Yes, I know. I know that now. Right now, ma'am, I don't even have a desire to even do drugs anymore. I think I done build myself up to know what to do now if something like that happened.
Stop you right now.
Ma'am.
Let me stop you right now. When you think you've got it, that's the surest sign that you don't got it.
When I think I got it.
When you think you got control over this, that's most vulnerable to relapse.
I'm not saying I have control over it. I know I'm always be an addict, but I don't have to use. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to use this stuff.
Well, nobody has to use it, but addicts use it,
Right. I agree.
okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So what specific steps do you think, if you were to be successful and be released, what specific steps do you think you need to take so that, relapse is real?
Yes, ma'am.
So what are you gonna do differently this time than when you left have and thought you had it under control and you didn't? So what do you do differently this time?
I will go to find me a AANA class to go to in the world. I'll find me a class to go to out there and find me a sponsor or whatever, and just let's go from there.
How often do you think you go? Meetings? Just on knowing yourself and knowing, so how often do you think you should?
I should go to this class
Mhm.
forever. I mean, I'm gonna go twice a week, 90 meetings, 90 days, asking God to keep me sober and just keep going. I just go from there.
I see that, you've taken some good programs. You're a Pride member. How long have you been a Pride member?
How long you been a Pride member?
A Pride member, well, I've been a Pride member for quite some time, since I got here in 17.
Okay. Are you a trustee?
No, ma'am. No, I'm not a trustee.
Not.
No,
Why not?
I never required to put in for it, I don't guess. I don't know. I'm not a trustee. I don't know what.
It's time, Ms. Jackson.
Gotcha. I got. Why'd you take Drug Dealers Anonymous?
Drug Dealers Anonymous.
Why'd you take that?
Well, I sold drugs too. I
Okay.
sold it. I sold it to keep my habit going. You know what I'm saying? Once I buy so much of it, I sell it to keep me some, so before I can be able to smoke. So
What did you learn? What did you learn in Drug Anonymous?
drug Dealers Anonymous. I learned that it's been a little minute. Let me see. I learned that
What motivates drug dealers?
ma'am,
What motivates drug dealers?
what motivate them? Money. Money, just money. That's all I can tell you, ma'am. Just money. Money and drugs.
Or did they talk about the harm that drug dealing does to the community?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you
About
for that.
Tell
Ma'am,
me about that.
yes. Now you said drugs harm mess the community up. It make folks really tears the community up. It start people to stealing, breaking in stuff, putting beef between their families and things in that nature.
How do you feel about that? And as far as your participation in that kind of thing, how do you feel about it?
I feel bad on that. I feel bad because there's so much truth to it. You just distributing this stuff out and don't really know what it's doing to families and people. You're just making everything worse, instead of for the good. It's more bad than good, way more bad.
Well, sometimes you just don't care at the moment. You obviously know that we're addicted to drugs, have all kind of problems, and it causes problems for the families, children, so you know it, but you just don't really care about it. So
Yes, ma'am. That's been a minute ago though. Like I said, I wouldn't do nothing like that. Not right now. I wouldn't live like that or do nothing like that.
The institution record is good. You have 3 write-ups, which is good. Your last one was 2020 for full 28. What was that about?
I can't hear you.
You're 28, your last write-up.
I was trying to go to school, VOTEC, and my name wasn't on the call out on the monitor. So they wouldn't let me go through the bullpen in order to go to school. So they wrote me up on that.
So what did you do to get it?
I didn't go to school. They wouldn't let me go to school.
He got written up for not being at school. He was on a call out and he didn't show up for school.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so.
But you weren't on the list, on the call-out list, so you couldn't go, right?
Right. And if your name is not on the list, they won't let you go through the bullpen. It's like down the walk.
The ways of DOC are strange and mysterious sometimes.
Well, that's what I got to step in. As his say, he's saying he wasn't on call out. Apparently, they thought he was on call out. They wrote him up. I got to say that.
Right.
And what were you going to LOTAC for?
My education.
I know, but what? What were you taking up?
GED, for my GED.
Oh, you were doing the GED.
Yes, ma'am.
Completed that?
No, ma'am, not yet, but I will. If I'm granted this parole, I will follow through on that.
Well, how long have you been in the GED program?
I've been, like I said, when they rolled me up, I got in my feelings. I quit, ma'am. I did. I quit for about 3-4 months. When I went to when I was here with my last board, he recommended that I get back in school. So I wasn't in school during my last time here. So I done got back in there now. So now altogether, I probably been in there about a year and a half, something like that.
Well, how close are you being to taking
the test? I just promoted out of my literature about 3 months ago. So I need 2 4s to take my high set.
You need what?
2 4s to take my high set.
Oh, what 2 4s are?
2 scores of 4.
Yeah, 2
scores of 4.
Yeah, 2 scores. Yeah, that's right.
4th grade level, I think is what that may stand.
What can you tell us, Warden? You think I haven't talked about?
Not really. I tell you, Stanley does a good job. He's one of my dorm orderlies on the dorm, and he hadn't been screened for trustee because of his time. But I probably would screen him, at least see if he was eligible, if he was within that time frame. But he works hard on our dorm. He is a pride member, like you talked about, and his write-up history is good. He had that one in 2020, which was I still stand by. His name was on the call out. He just missed it and didn't show up to the thing. But that's not the biggest deal I've seen in prison before. But prior to that, I think 2015 was his last write-up. So he's done good job staying out of trouble.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Freeman.
I see you've had to go to the hospital a couple times. Do you have a medical problem?
No, sir. I got diagnosed with cancer. I had got my prostate removed.
And that's all good now?
Yes, sir. Through the grace of God. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Mitchell, your brother Charles Mitchell would like to make a statement. Would you open your mic and give us your statement?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I just wanted to add that since the last parole hearing via Zoom, I was on that one as well, and we've talked, me and Stanley, since then throughout that time period, and I've really noticed sincerity with him. I really believe he's sincere about getting out and doing what he needs to do to stay on the right path. I'm a minister myself, and I'm connected with a lot of different ministers there in Louisiana, and different outreach programs life groups, to help. I'll do whatever I need to do to help keep him on the right path. I have a lot of connections and people that I know as well that can help support him. And we have two other brothers that will be a part of that as well to help him.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Appreciate you being here today.
Let me ask a couple questions. Mr. Mitchell, if you were successful today, what's your plan? Where would you live? Where would you work? Tell us what your plan would be going forward.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have a job planned. I mean, a job right now to go out to, because the guy I used to work for, he sold his business. I'm skilled as a mechanic. That's the type of work I was doing right before I came in here. I'm gonna say around about 2011. That's when I went straight for a very long time. I got me a job at this mechanic place, Fast Glass. And I worked there until I got sentenced for this time right here, up until around November of 2014. But anyway, he have sold that business, and I don't have, ma'am.
So well, first, where would you live? Who would you live with?
With my brother, Bruce Mitchell.
And where does Bruce live?
He lived in Colliston on 5906 Up Down Road, Colliston, Louisiana.
I've never heard of Colliston. Where is that?
That's close by Bastrop. You ever heard of Bastrop, between Monroe and,
I've heard of it.
Okay, that's like between Monroe and Bastrop. It's a little small town, ma'am. A little small.
I know.
But other than that, I will work. I will find a job. I don't care what it is. It don't matter what it is. I'm talking about I will work. I'm willing to work. I'm not.
Okay. Here, it's good.
Okay.
All right, that's all, Mr. Marshall.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Mr. Stanley, you are denied about a year ago, right?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember the reasons why you were denied?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I remember.
Past criminal history. You have a lengthy criminal history. You have a long history of use of, you needed, because you had a long use of substance, you needed a long-term substance abuse program. Have you done any substance abuse since the last year?
And yes, substance abuse?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, I done did substance.
Since the last.
So
I can't hardly hear.
since the last hearing and when you got denied, have you done any substance abuse classes since then?
No.
Like NAAA or anything?
No, just AANA. I've been in that.
But what I'm trying to get at, all three of the panel members suggested that you get with the warden and see about getting some substance abuse treatment. And you did not?
No, sir. It's ran by quarterly. It's ran by quarterly. I was required to get an AA and back in school.
See, but a lot of offenders don't understand. NA is not appropriate. It's needed. And you talk and you help each other.
Okay.
I'm talking substance abuse treatment program or a substance abuse education program.
Mm-hmm.
And it was highly recommended by all three members of that panel that you take some substance abuse education or treatment. And you did not. Why?
No, I basically thought he was talking about AAN, though. That's the word I heard he said. I didn't hear him say I need to go back to the class and
Well, tell you what, I won't tell you what my mother said about thought. You're supposed to understand and not think. You're supposed to do as you were instructed to do. And if you didn't understand, you should have asked the question.
you're
My
right.
mama or somebody at Dixon would have answered that question.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at the vote sheet right now. Needs long-term substance abuse, Brennan Kelsey. Needs long-term substance abuse, Pearl Wise. Needs long-term substance abuse prior to release, Cheryl Renazi. And you hadn't got it.
Well, like I said, sir, I thought he was talking, I mean, I know you said about the thought, but I really thought he was talking about AA. If I knew he was talking about substance abuse, I would have went over and did that class again, sir. I had no clue that he was talking about that. I really didn't.
Okay. Would you like to make a closing?
It's like,
Close, yes, sir.
Statement? I just want to make sure that I've got the statement from Charles and I did. Go ahead.
go ahead, close out.
Okay, I would like to apologize to the family, to the victim, the whole ripple effect. I was wrong for my action, and I hope they find it in their heart to forgive me. I'm truly sorry for my actions.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
Okay.
Is the panel ready to vote? Mr. Freeman,
Okay. First,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
he caught me off guard, but I don't mind going first.
Mrs. Jackson, would you vote?
Okay, Mr. Mitchell, you've done a pretty good job last 9+ years. My vote would be a conditional grant upon completion of a DOC substance abuse treatment program.
Mr. Freeman,
I'll concur with Ms. Jackson. I think a lot of the problems with the substance abuse is his GED. I mean, I noticed that his scores were, you know, he's been working a long time trying to get this GED, and I'm just concerned how much is he gonna understand this substance abuse class we're gonna send him to without a GED, bro. But I do also suggest that once you get out, that you follow up on your GED.
Yes, sir.
one second. Okay. Mr. Mitchell, you have received 2 votes to conditionally grant your release upon completion of a long-term DOC substance abuse program. I will concur with that vote, and also vote to vote conditional. Upon completion of that long-term substance abuse, you'll have some conditions after release. You'll have a curfew from 9 to 6, 9 p to 6 a.
Yes, sir.
You are to follow all recommendations of the substance abuse program. You are to attend at least 3 NAAA meetings a week,
Yes, sir.
and you are to have random drug screens at the discretion of your parole officer.
Yes, sir.
You understand all those conditions?
Yes, sir, I do.
Mr. Mitchell, you have received a conditional grant upon completion of a long-term substance abuse program. Good luck.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
My favorite warden always gives that handshake and then chats after. For me, this was very kind of like strange hearing. In some ways, he sounded mature and like just, I guess, in the cadence of his talk and how he would say things. But then there was something else where it just didn't seem that, you know, it was like he was saying kind of like the wrong things, but just just the kind of like the right tone. He also seemed to have a lot of insight into what led him to the addiction. Lost his brother, he couldn't find a job, he was mad at the world, he was trying to deal with nightmares. We have very rarely heard people share that kind of insight as to what drove their addiction. But it didn't seem that he really understood much or of what he had learned at these programs. He wasn't really saying the right things. But he had served a long time, and really they just threw the habitual offender thing at him. He doesn't have violent crimes. It's about robbery and addiction. And, you know, I have a link to his robbery. It was like he stole a four-wheeler. He was driving around on a four-wheeler when they caught him on it. And, you know, like one of those ATV things. Also seemed like Mr. Freeman was caught napping there a little bit when they asked him to speak. And I didn't really understand what he said, the idea that he needs to get his GED or he won't understand the program, but he'll get his GED after. That didn't really make sense to me. If everyone needed a GED to understand a program about drug abuse, I don't know. Lost me on that one. Yeah, you know, where he lost me kind of was, it's like he's kind of like speaking the script, but then saying when he gets it, he's just not interested in drugs. And it's like, no, you can't say that. You have to, he didn't seem to really understand his addiction at the same time. He didn't. He was saying he's tired of it. He's not going to do it anymore, but he was saying the wrong things. And I am concerned for him because of that. But I think they made the right decisions, the right choices for him. It is all going to come down, can he stay away from his addiction? If he can, I think he'll stay out of prison. It's what it came down to was an addiction that was driving his life and sending him back to prison. But it was interesting, you know, even when he like responded to Miss Jackson, he said thank you for that when she like gave him a tip about what he might have learned at Drug Dealers Anonymous. He just seemed like a good guy. I don't think it was like manipulation that he was trying to do. He might not be the brightest tool in the shed. I mean, the idea that they told him, hey, you just need to complete this program and you come back and we'll let you out. And he didn't. He just didn't. He like assumed it was something else. I don't think that he intentionally did that. I think he just might not be kind of like the sharpest tool in the shed. I don't think it was manipulation. Normally the board would just say, we told you to do a program, you didn't, you're out. So I think they made the same judgment call too. But that's my thoughts on this case. Looks like we got one more for the day, or two more. But with that, I'll let you go.